Morning, folks. Welcome back to my world of stuff. My name is That There. Right, it's Cinema Day. It's 10th of November 2013. And I go to the cinema. I didn't think I would be going to the cinema today. I'm going to see The Marvels, the new latest entry in the MCU. This one's been sort of bubbling away for a while. I don't think anybody expects very much from it, or expected very much from it. I certainly didn't. I'm sort of Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, Marvel, the glory days, I suppose, of the Thor, Captain America, the Avengers, the resonance that you had with those characters being brought to life, full-blooded. And this just seemed like something a bit throwaway, and it might well be. However, the reviews that have been coming out are quite pleasant, quite upbeat, suggest it's a bit of fun. It's only 105 minutes, so it's not bum-numbing length of time. So I thought, yeah, what the hell, I'll support Marvel to the bitter end, even though I don't think much of the TV stuff. And Loki is gibberish, for example. I have no idea what's going on there. Anyway, I'm off to the cinema to see The Marvels. I will, of course, report back when it's over. Of course, I can't report back now because I haven't seen it yet. So stick around. I'll see you after this.
Two hours later.
And we're back in the car. Okay, right, I'm out for The Marvels. I'm just going to do a quick out of the theatre reaction, as they call them on YouTube, before I do a longer review when I get back to the cinema room this afternoon, because there's quite a bit to say about this film. But quick points, it's nothing like as bad as you might have thought it's going to be. It's not as bad as certain YouTubers in America have said it is, who I think probably saying it for clickbait, because they want to be controversial, they want to be uber critical, if you like. I think that the problem this film may have in fan circles is it is a very female-centric film. The lead characters are pretty much all female. There's a handful of supporting male characters, Samuel L. Jackson, for example. But it's a film led by women, and there is a tranche of fans who balk against that sort of thing, and I think that they automatically choose not to like something if it has strong female characters. This isn't, however, sort of a feministy film in the way that I suspect Barbie is. I haven't seen Barbie. I probably will at some point, but this isn't women strong, men weak type film. It's basically a film about some superpowered characters who happen to be female, but it's not ringing any bells for feminism. It's not really a girl power type film. It has no message as such, other than to do what Marvel usually does and to offer a big, spectacular, entertaining film, which it does to an extent. The issues I had with it, as I will elucidate later on, starts very strongly. I thought the first half an hour is really good, really entertaining. Then I got a bit bored, and then it got very silly. There's one or two scenes which are so silly that they even out silly Taika Waititi for silliness. And then it gets very good again towards the end. So it is a curate egg. It is a mixed bag. And it's mid-tier Marvel, bottom mid-tier. And you do watch it and you think about Iron Man and Captain America and Thor and how those were strong sort of character-based films that were about character and people and extraordinary people doing extraordinary things, as much as they were about the extraordinary things. This doesn't have that depth. I mean, there's a chemistry between the leads, which does buzz off the screen, but it does feel a bit shallow in places. There's not a lot of depth to it. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say for now. But it isn't a bad film. And if you're wondering about seeing it, and if you're a Marvel film and thought this may be a Marvel film too far, I would say take a punt on it. But anyway, I'll come back to you in a bit and talk about it a bit more. Hello and welcome back. Right, just by way of explanation, it's now 2 days later, pretty much. I went to see The Marvels on Friday afternoon. This is the first time. It was Sunday morning. It's the first chance I've had to sit and review it properly and talk about it properly. Reasons being, on Friday afternoon I got home and I wrote my review for Starburst magazine. You can read it there if you're interested. Then I was out Friday night. Saturday came and went. I was out Saturday afternoon. By the time I came back in the evening, it just wasn't time to sort of sit and record anything. I've had a busy couple of days socially, which is unusual, so I made the most of it. So now it's Sunday, and I thought I would sit and talk about the Marvels, and I think it's quite good that I've had a bit of a break from the film. It's allowed me to absorb the narrative, the online narrative about the film, and just throw my own 2 pence into the hat. The first thing I want to say, talking about this film, is in reference to the negative publicity and the wave of negativity towards this film and the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general. Now, obviously, the MCU's been around in 15 years, and from being the flavour of the month, it's now become the devil incarnate, particularly with Disney. Which I think is unfair. And I just wanted to point out that there's been obviously a lot of online. You're watching this on YouTube, so you will have seen other YouTubers commenting on this film. A lot of them from America, a lot of them quite well-known YouTubers. And I just want to point out that from my perspective, I think that what we have with these viciously anti-Marvel and anti-the Marvels, we get clickbait. There's a lot of clickbait. I think a lot of these reviewers who become very popular and make money from YouTube videos, which is not something I've ever particularly bothered about or sought and don't. I think their priorities shift a little bit from being objective about something, but just following what they feel is the popular narrative of a film or a studio. And I think a lot of people went into this film, a lot of the big critics, if you can call them that, online, went into this film wanting to hate it because they knew that by posting an angry, ranting video, they get more clicks, they get more subscribers, they get more money. Now, maybe that's me being cynical, but having watched YouTube for quite a while, I know the way it works. And I think sometimes you watch stuff and think, yeah, this is just clickbait. This isn't necessarily an honest opinion. You're just saying what you think people want to hear. And I think there's been a lot of that with the Marvels, because some of the reviews have been ridiculously over the top in the way that they've slated this film. One or two have been a bit more respectful and said, well, actually, it's not perfect, it's not great, but it's perfectly enjoyable. And that's where I stand. So I think that I just wanted to make that point, that you can't really judge the quality of a film until you've seen it yourself, which is obviously the main way of judging a film. But you can't judge it by a lot of the particularly American YouTubers who have their own agenda, which isn't about the film, it's about them and their clickbait. So I suppose that speaks for itself. I suppose if you have been around YouTube a lot, you've seen a lot of this stuff and you know how it works. I'm sure we all know how it works. But I think it's been particularly noticeable with this film. And of course, after all this time, Marvel are fair game, I suppose. They've released a lot of product. And yes, I'm not going to sit here and say, no, Marvel's fantastic, Marvel's at the top of its game. It clearly isn't. It's clearly got some problems. And those problems stem from losing their A-list characters. Their problems stem from releasing one or two things which weren't as good as they should have been, releasing too much unnecessary TV content. I think most of their TV shows, I would say about 3 of them have offered anything of interest to the MCU. A lot of them are just product for the sake of it. So yeah, Marvel have some issues. Marvel isn't the new kid on the block. Marvel, quite right, like any studio that puts out product which isn't as good as it should be, it deserves criticism, but not the sort of criticism that they have been getting. Anyway, 4 minutes in, I'm now going to finally talk a bit more about what I thought of the Marvels. I know I said in the Out of Theatre review that I thought it wasn't bad, and I stand by that. One of the other things I've noticed from some reviews is people are saying, I've no idea what's going on. The plot's all over the place. It makes no sense. That's absolutely not true. I would say it's quite the opposite. It's a very simplistic plot. I mean, I think the thing is it's quite a chaotic film. It's quite a noisy film. It doesn't stand still for very long, if at all, which can make the threads of the plot perhaps seem a little obscure. But I think ultimately, if you step back and look at the film, the plot is very straightforward. You've got a villain called Dar-Benn, who is, I think, a Kree warrior. She's played by Zawe Ashton. She is trying to get this bangle, which will give her, with the second bangle, which Miss Marvel has down on Earth, power. She has an axe to grind with Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, because Captain Marvel, in one of her cosmic adventures, caused the deterioration of Dar-Benn's home planet. She now wants to address that by restoring the planet's atmosphere, power, sun, from other sources across the universe, and she needs these bangles to do that. that's pretty much the story in terms of the villain. As far as the characters are concerned, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Monica Rambeau, they all have light-based powers, and because of what Dar-Ben has done in creating this sort of wormhole in space, because of that, the three girls, their powers all interchange when they use their powers. They become different people, and they sort of zap around, swapping their places in time, in space rather, when they use their powers. And they eventually have to combine to stop Dar-Ben from destroying the Earth's sun or sucking this power of the sun away for the sake of her own planet. That's the plot. It's not complicated. It's not... It's nothing head-scratching. You pay attention and you follow it quite easily. It's a very simple plot, which I understand and accept is slightly muddied by the frenetic, chaotic nature of the film. I understand that there were a lot of rewrites and reshoots and things, and that's probably not helped. But for me, I thought it worked as a story. It was quite linear, quite straightforward. It wasn't at all difficult. I think, again, it's the YouTubers making a mountain out of a molehill, or making a mountain out of something that's not really there, because it's not a difficult story to follow in any way. So that's what the story is all about. Now, I enjoyed it. As I've said in my review on StarburstMagazine.com. It is mid-tier Marvel. It's not up with the big hitters of Marvel. And it does make you think and look wistfully back at the early days of Marvel, when we had more grounded storylines about people with powers that you thought, yeah, imagine if you did have these powers, you could do these things. It was grounded and real and relatable, and that's why the early Marvel films work so well. Of course, now we're moving into multiverses and into space, and it becomes more science fiction. It becomes more comic book, which is another reason why I can't understand why these people are so against some of these films, because they have their roots in comic books, and now they're becoming more comic book. I do like things a bit more grounded, so I'm not remotely interested in multiverse stuff, and this does drift into that towards the end. But all in all, it's perfectly entertaining for what it is, and it's described as the sequel to Captain Marvel. It really isn't. It's because it's not Captain Marvel 2, it's the Marvels. Captain Marvel obviously is in it. It's a sequel in sort of by a very narrow thread. It's the connective tissue is there, obviously, but it's very much its own thing in creating a new team, potentially. The pluses are, as everybody has said, even the people who don't like the film, the chemistry between the three leads. Captain Marvel, the brilliant actress Iman Vellani, I think of Vellani, name here, who plays Miss Marvel. She's great. I mean, I had some issues with the TV series because, watching a 14-year-old superhero just seemed a bit weird to me. But she's very good in this film. Brie Larson is much better than we've seen her before. She's more comfortable in the role, and she brings a bit more humanity and believability to it. Because the problem with Captain Marvel, she can do anything. She's Marvel's Superman, and that comes with its own problems, because that character, Superman, is so powerful. You can only do interesting stories by compromising his powers somehow, and that's what they do with Captain Marvel here. She has issues with her powers because she's jumping about, becoming into different space of the other characters. And I think it's Teyonah Parris who plays Monica Rambeau. She's also very good. She's the least developed of the three, I think, although you do have the stuff about her relationship with Captain Marvel, who effectively is her aunt. She feels a bit sidelined because Captain Marvel never came back to see her. So there's stuff going on emotionally, but it's quite surface level compared to the stuff we've had before. The action scenes are pretty good. There's a very good action scene on the spaceship when the Sabre space station, where the three characters all sort of zipping about, fighting off these soldiers of Dar-Ben who've come to attack. That's very well choreographed, albeit soundtrack by a hideous racketing rap track, which, as you know, I'm not a big fan of rap music. Samuel L. Jackson's good value as Nick Fury. The issue I had, as I mentioned in my review, is that this is the wisecracking Captain Nick Fury we've had in the earlier MCU, but we've recently seen Secret Invasion, where he's old and jaded and disillusioned and regarded as an antique. And that sort of jarred. But of course, as I realised, and somebody actually pointed out a review I watched yesterday, this film was due out before Secret Invasion and was pushed back. So I think that sort of answers that criticism I had. I wish I'd thought of that before I wrote my review, actually. This predates Secret Invasion, and because of the ever-shifting Marvel release schedule, this is sort of swap places. But it's still, I think, it just jars. It jarred with me that we had the old Nick Fury, who I prefer to the more cynical and realistic one, I suppose. Otherwise, the special effects are great. There's lots of CGI stuff that you expect in a Marvel film. I would agree that Dar Ben's character is a bit one-dimensional. I mean, she has her mission, she has her things she wants to do, which is to restore her planet, but that's pretty much all there is to her. There's no light and shade to her, really. I like Zoe Ashton. I remember her going back to the comedy series Fresh Meat about the students in Manchester a few years ago that ran for about 4 series. It was very good. And she was in an early Peter Capaldi Doctor Who story. Yeah, she's a bit underdeveloped. But otherwise, it is perfectly serviceable stuff. I mean, if you go in and see it, it's only 105 minutes, so it's not as if it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think it knows its limitations. It knows it doesn't need to be longer than it is. You just get in and get on with the job. I did like the first half an hour. I thought that was very engaging. Then, again, it started to irritate me slightly because, I don't know, I just found there was a section which irritated me. Then there was the section that you might have read about on a planet where everybody communicates by singing, which is just silly. That was a bit cringy. And then it perks up again towards the end when it reaches the climax. So it's... The point I want to make is it's nothing like as bad as you may have heard. Now, interestingly, I mean, I hate to mention Rotten Tomatoes because I think it's a spurious metric that really is... The importance of it is overinflated, and I speak as somebody whose reviews are included in Rotten Tomatoes via Starburst. But on Rotten Tomatoes, as of the time of recording, it has a 62% critic rating, which means it's certified fresh, and it has an 86% audience rating. So people are actually liking it, and I think that probably antagonises the anti-crowd who really set themselves up to hate it, and they want to drag it down, they want to pull it down, they want to see it flop. I don't think it's going to do any of those things. I think it'll do quite well. I think it'll cover its budget quite comfortably. It's not going to take the 1.1 billion that Captain Marvel made. Clearly, we're in a different world now. But I just wanted to make the point, particularly in this video, that the online reviews are skewed very much in a negative fashion, but not in a creative way. They just, it's Marvel bashing time, to misquote the Thing in the Fantastic Four. And that's the agenda that many of these people have. So in summation, entertaining. The cats are great, by the way. There's some great cat scenes. And a very funny scene, which some people have criticised, with the cats doing what these cats in the Captain Marvel films do. Very funny. And quite a creative way of resolving a crisis, actually. So yeah, all in all, I just found it quite enjoyable. And I wasn't angry by it. I didn't feel disappointed by Marvel. I do yearn for those earlier Marvel films, but times have moved on. Things develop, things change. You don't necessarily like the change, but you have to go with the flow and accept that Marvel is developing in different ways. And yeah, it's at an important point at the moment because it's sort of lost the certainly critical affection that it once had. The public still seem quite happy with most of the stuff, and that's what counts at the end of the day. And as a member of the public, I thought it was perfectly fine. So I'm going to give it, The Marvels is out in cinemas now, of course. I'm going to give it, I think I'll give it 3 stars, which is the equivalent of 6 at Starburst. I'm going to give it 6.5 out of 10. Because now, a couple of days later, I sort of think, yeah, it was quite good fun. So 6.5 for The Marvels. Right, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this slightly disjointed video because it's over different days. If you've liked the video, and only if, please like and subscribe because there's lots of the stuff on this channel, film reviews, a lot of Doctor Who stuff at the moment because the 60th anniversary, unboxings, cinema trips, out and about, all sorts of good stuff. So like and subscribe, leave a comment down below. I'll see you soon until I do. Keep taking the stuff.